everyone, and welcome to the Crown Report. My name is Brittany. It is Tuesday, January 14th, and we have some very, very exciting news, which is that Catherine has undertaken her first royal engagement of 2025. And it was one that was incredibly personal because she went to the Royal Marsden Hospital, which is where she received her own chemotherapy treatments. And she went there not only as a joint patron with her husband, Prince William, but also to meet with fellow cancer patients, share part of her journey with them and with the media as well, you could say. And then also, it was an opportunity to thank all the doctors, hospital staff, and everyone who had been there to support her and William as she went through her cancer journey. So, this was very, very exciting on multiple levels. Obviously, the palace has specified this should not be seen as an example of how she will be getting back into the royal swing of things. You could say she's still very much on a sort of slow kind of walk back into royal duties, but it was a very, very, very good sign. Here she is with a woman also named Catherine, but first letter is a K instead of a C. She is actually having a cold cap on right there, and Catherine is chatting with her. And we learned a couple of interesting details about Catherine's treatment, some of the, you could say items that were used with her. For example, she did not use a cold cap. We also have another confirmation about whether or not she had a chemo port. So some very interesting things. That was just so exciting to see her doing well. Some had speculated her first appearance would be at the BAFTAs, but we got a better one, I would argue, instead. So many little details there to share with you guys. And then we also have a Princess Leonor, the young future queen of Spain. She embarked on I think it's about a 5-month or so training regime with the Navy on the Juan Sebastian El Canto. And so it is actually a masted ship. And so it's something that all of the people with the Navy do. And it's a way to sort of train. Her own father even did it. So it was very exciting to see that. And so many videos from there, a lot of emotional moments as her parents bid her farewell, as she's like literally going sailing for 5 months, doing a lot of military training, learning how to read maps and astronomy, navigation, and those sorts of things. So very cool training because she will be the future, obviously, leader of the armed forces in Spain. We also have something sort of interesting happening once again. New details about Marius Borgholmby, the long-running saga of Norway's, I don't know exactly what you would call him, but obviously the stepson of the crown prince, the son of the crown princess, and an incident that happened on a royal yacht. Mette-Marit had to go down, sort of talk about the situation. And again, it's another example, I think, in Norway, how, you know what, Mette-Marit really has, I think, some things to answer for here, because obviously they knew he was trouble for a long time. And I think things were used for the, yeah, like, obviously some sort of taxpayer uses were made to help, you could argue, in some ways. I'm just kind of making some assumptions here to cover up for some of his alleged indiscretions. This is with an incident with one of his girlfriends. So much to talk about here today, guys. So much. And so, guys, I pulled out some of the best bits of what we got regarding Catherine. And so I will share some of those and we will watch then a video together. So let's go ahead and make sure, though. I want to make sure my audio is good. Yes, it is. Okay. So let's begin. So Catherine, released as part of this journey as well and going to the hospital, shared a social media statement about sort of her time and the importance of being part of this community there and what it meant to be back. And at one point, someone said going through the front entrance instead of the back entrance, which is very interesting because obviously for many, I don't want to say many years, but during her treatment, she would go in via more of a closed off entrance. So people would not know she was there because obviously she wanted to keep her journey private. And I guess she sort of mentioned that to people, that in some ways, what people do when they have something like cancer and go through chemotherapy treatments, especially in sort of an open concept like Catherine had there at Royal Marsden, it's an opportunity to talk with other survivors. And Catherine really couldn't do that in the same way others could. But let's look at her statement here. It's on X and obviously Instagram as well. She said, I wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to the Royal Marsden for looking after me so well during the last year. So this is a confirmation that this is where she was treated. We were not sure where she was being treated. So this is the first time she's actually confirmed that to us. She said, my heartfelt thanks goes to all those who have quietly walked alongside William and me as we have navigated everything. We couldn't have asked for more. The care and advice we received throughout my time as a patient has been exceptional. In my new role as a joint patron of the Royal Marsden, my hope is that by supporting groundbreaking research and clinical excellence, as well as promoting patient and family well being, we might save many more lives and transform the experience of all those impacted by cancer. It is a relief to now be in remission, and I remain focused on recovery. This is also the first time she has confirmed that she is in remission, which means her cancer is sort of at a stable point or there are no signs of cancer overall. So obviously exceptionally good news, because when they announced last year she was done with her chemotherapy, they were very clear to say she was not in remission. So it took a little bit more time to confirm that. So we do now have that confirmation. As anyone who has experienced a cancer diagnosis will know, it takes time to adjust to a new normal. I am, however, looking forward to a fulfilling year ahead. There's so much to look forward to. Thank you to everyone for your continued support. C. So she signs it with a C, which means it's very much a personal statement there. And I think this is really a sign of how things will probably look in the future, which is that I think Catherine will take things a lot slower. And as well, I think because of this cancer diagnosis, we don't know still what type of cancer that she had, but she will still be being monitored for the rest of her life. So this very much changes in some ways her future prospects, because she can't just go back as if everything was fine and normal. It's like, oh, everything's good. This will impact her forever. She has scars now that she didn't before between the surgeries. And a bit of new news that we learned as well is that Catherine did officially have a port put in. So this is a chemo port that usually is directly in like the jugular vein, essentially, and it usually sits sort of on the shoulder here. So this is something I had wondered about, maybe even speculated about, because she had raised the neckline of the dress she wore to Wimbledon. As somebody else pointed out on X as well, she had the big bow that was put on to one of her dresses. It was a way to camouflage the port. And so she mentioned to one patient that she was hesitant about having it removed, which I thought was kind of interesting. That is like almost like she grew a bit attached to it, or it was scary because not only is it probably a bit painful to remove, but she's probably thinking, "Am I ready? Is it time yet?" I'm just not sure. It's a very, I think, scary thing in some ways, because you're always wondering, will the cancer come back? Because that is always the biggest concern for any cancer patient is, will the cancer come back? And so I'm sure she was just a bit worried about that and hoping that, of course, nothing would happen, but you can never know for sure. It is a big challenge, a big question. And so definitely something I'm sure she thought about quite a bit. And I think, although this is not confirmed, but obviously I don't think for right now she will probably, you could say, show the scar now, but maybe I'm hoping sometime in the future that she will feel unimpeded and feel comfortable with a neckline that might show the scar from it. I think much like Princess Eugenie showing off her scoliosis scars, I think there would be something empowering about that. Of course, it is Catherine's wishes, desires, whatever she might have. It's up to her if she wants to do that or not. But I think that would be actually very, very cool. And just another interesting piece of knowledge is that the Royal Marsden was the first hospital to have a specialized cancer ward. And its very famous former president was actually her mother in law, Princess Diana. So, just to be clear as well, even though it was announced that Catherine and William are joint patrons, he did not actually come with her on this visit. And you can see here the Royal Marsden Hospital. So, she quipped that this was the first time she had actually walked in the front door instead of usually using the secret back entrance. So they were very, very careful to conceal that that was where she was getting her treatments, that she was able to stay safe and everything. And I think that's really, really amazing. So, and as Kay said, scarring is a journey. It has a power and beauty. I'm still learning that every day. Yes, I think not saying that would happen right now, but I'm just hoping it would be really cool and I think very powerful of Catherine if she feels comfortable when she's at the process where, because it is a long process seeing the scars, knowing you have these scars and everything, that when she gets to the point where she's like, "Oh, okay, I got it. I feel comfortable now." She might be able to share that with us. I think that would be really amazing. And so she also said to one patient, this goes back to her experience that was, you could say, mostly private because of her very famous profile. She had to be really careful because you don't like it's sad to say, but you don't know. Even in that situation, you might get somebody who's sort of desperate and more than willing to sort of reveal things that were said in confidence. So she really had to do it privately. And she said, I had to do it privately and quietly. But being on a ward like this has to be reassuring in a way. Everyone said to me, please keep a positive mindset. It makes such a difference. And then she also spoke to one patient. And I like how I think it was it was a different bit that the Telegraph shared, but I like this bit where she shared with somebody that they needed to dress warmly, or that's at least what she did because the chemotherapy made her feel cold, which I thought was really interesting. And I guess towards the end of her treatments, she always said, I really felt like I needed to get the sun. You need loads of water and loads of sunlight. And then as she was sitting with the patient, I think it was Catherine who we saw earlier with the cold cap, or it might have been somebody else. The machine started beeping as the treatment finished. And she's like, oh, I know that beep. And I love how it's a very personal thing. And the Telegraph sort of caught up with this on one particular comment after an intense discussion. Catherine responded, oh my goodness, with a grimace. And they said her reaction was as someone who knew exactly what was really going on, which I think is sort of amazing. Is that one of the things that we have here now is a princess who has been through these thorough. And so when somebody shares a story with her, she's like, I know that. And although William and Harry have been able to do that with the loss of their mother as well, I think because cancer hits so many, and it's something that people, both young and old, go through, and it's a really big challenge that she is able to share this really personal connection to this process. And I think that's really incredible. And I think that it makes her more empathetic as a royal, and it makes her able to, I think, better connect with people in a lot of ways. She also hugged a woman, and I was kind of confused because it described this woman as somebody whose daughter was going through treatment, but then you can see she has an IV, so I don't know. I was a bit confused by that. And Catherine said, I wish I could do more. It will get better. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So, in response to the whole visit, the palace said, and this is Kensington, the princess wanted to make the journey to both show her gratitude to the incredible team, but also highlight the world leading care and treatment the Marsden provides. Today was about visiting the Marsden to reflect on her own personal journey. And so she also talked about that sometimes in order to get through this whole process, it's really focused on finding joy in situations. And I really do love that because you have to find the joy, not only in the big things of life, but the simple things as well. And something like a cancer diagnosis really does make you, sort of reframes your mind into what is going on and everything. So it is just very, I think, encouraging for people to see her, but also encouraging to know that she's gone through something really challenging like this. And I think it makes her, I think, endears her more to the people. So let's go ahead and watch this video. This is from the Royal Family Channel. And I thought this was really a sort of a great synopsis on the whole visit. We'll have to pause periodically for copyright reasons and those sorts of things, guys. But there she is walking in the main entrance here. So I can't totally make out everything she's saying, but I think she's excited to be there and very, very excited to see everyone. And I did forget to mention two things. We got Angela Dawn, who's been a member for 14 months. Real royals show up and do good. They do. And they do it with an air of humility. I was actually thinking about this, and the idea just came to mind, and I wrote down is that I feel like everything Harry and Meghan do is with a sense of pride, whereas royals, I feel like especially Catherine embodies the feeling of humility. And so I think that is portrayed so much better. Then we also have Chris, who's been a member for 17 months. God bless Princess Catherine. Yes, oh yes. I'm really hoping that, again, she's on the mend, that she doesn't have to deal with a recurrence or anything, but this will definitely be a situation she has to deal with for the rest of her life, unfortunately. So let's keep going here. So there's obviously some nursing and hospital staff and everything. So just in case, because I know there'll probably be some naysayers out there, she's just sort of waiting for them to sort of direct her to who has been. They probably asked the people as well, but they wanted their confirmation of who she would speak with. So this is where most people would be getting their chemotherapy treatments. Obviously, this isn't what Catherine experienced. She was in her own private room, I'm sure. It's probably somewhere in the recesses of the hospital just to preserve her privacy during this difficult time. So
I'm sorry to bring everybody. That's the next distraction. When she first started? It's December, so how are you finding it? Awful.
So she mentions, she's like, how are you finding the treatment? And the woman responds, tough. And she's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Because I think definitely in March, you could see in that video where Catherine announced her treatment that she was struggling a bit. And I think it really did. I mean, and you combine that with a massive surgery, 2024 was really rough for her. So I love how Catherine, you can pick up some of the conversations, some of them you can't. Some of them they'll ask later, "Hey, what did you guys talk about?" But this felt like very a personal and very much, you could even call it a healing journey for Catherine as well. So again, very sweet, very much a situation where she can empathize with what they're going through. And although there's a lot of cameras, I think, and this particular gentleman, I believe, if I am correct, he is the one who said that she made him feel like he was the only person in the room. So even though there was cameras around them, I'm sure photographers moving around, she very much kept the focus on the patients.
So William, appreciate it. It's been really, really tough on people. Lots of family members. That's why we're just trying to invest. There's no money, is there?
So if you missed a little bit of that, this woman complimented Catherine on how she and William handled the children. And she said something to the effect of, and I don't think I wrote down that particular quote. She's like, thank you. We tried our best. And I think that's a great way to put it, because there's no roadmap for this really. Every child responds differently. Every family member responds differently. And so there's just a really, it's a challenge.
There is, I was just saying earlier, there's so many different types of cancers. The treatments also vary, so different. It impacts families differently, patients' recovery is different, everything. So actually, you think originally.
So she's talking again there. If you didn't catch it, because it's very soft, because there's not a microphone right in her face, talking about how the cancer affects everybody differently. There's a lot of variations in treatments, and now even family members respond. So it's definitely comes from a very personal place. So I believe this gentleman she talked to here really encouraged him because I think he's had some remissions and stuff and encouraging him as he goes through his treatment process.
The outside world who hasn't spoke to someone it's hard to step back to normal. So this is how we're trying.
And so this was an interesting interaction here. And I did want to go back to my social media profile here and find this real quick because the woman she is posing with is actually someone of note here within this sort of cancer community, I believe, in terms of she's part of an organization. She's part of EGFR Positive Lung Cancer UK, and has said this morning our non-executive chair Angela Terry met the Princess of Wales. Angela was at the hospital for treatment when Catherine arrived to thank the staff for the care she received during her own cancer treatment. They had a warm conversation about EGFR plus lung cancer and the work we do to support people living with it. Catherine was genuinely interested in hearing about our community and encouraged these pictures to be taken. Her official photographer even captured the moment too. Not the kind of hospital visit Angela was expecting, but definitely one she won't forget. And so that is the woman she is posing with right there in case you are curious. So I thought that was a little interesting tidbit and I'm glad I caught that and now I've seen the video so I see that as well. And obviously, that's obviously not confirmation the cat what type of cancer Catherine had. Just putting that out there because some people may draw too many conclusions from that. But it was a very sweet interaction, I thought.
Denise, who's in charge of refreshments.
Very important job. Everyone got something. Yes, I find actually. Thank you so much.
And so when it comes to hear that kind of feeling of humility I mentioned, Catherine's first response when hearing that this woman is responsible for refreshments is, does everybody have what they want? She's not asking for herself. Her first response is, well, do you all have everything? And I feel like that came from a very genuine, automatic place is that her first response is to think about others. And then she is asked if she wants something. And she's like, I'm good.
Yeah, maybe after. I like that. I'll spell it otherwise. The work that's going on is so broad and varied. And I think we all roles represent that in so many ways as well. So it takes place on a daily basis, like research.
So there's a lot of research that goes on at this hospital. So I'm sure her and William will be focused on that quite a bit. And I can see a good portion of the early years project being given to potentially trying to help families who have had a recent cancer diagnosis. So I just thought that was very exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing because many have criticized Catherine and William for not moving in this direction sooner, but this is sort of a healing process. I'm so glad again we didn't have to wait for the BAFTAs because that would have been, I think, mid next month. And that seems like a long time. I think even 1 or 2 engagements per month would be awesome just to sort of get her back out there. But this is definitely a journey. You can tell she's like focusing on this as a long-term journey. How does she make sure? Because we don't even know what type of cancer she has, what the remission rate is. And so she's definitely focusing on keeping her health. That is her biggest concern.
This is actually there everyone feels like they're in this celebration. You know, everyone's commented on how fantastic this is.
And then she gets to meet a therapy dog. Don't we all love that?
Hi, Nikki. Very nice to see you. Who's this? Scout. Sit. Get your paw.
I love it. She interacts with the dog so well, and dogs can be obviously a great uplifting aspect of going through these journeys. Dog, are just so sweet and kind and just able to sort of lift somebody's spirits. He gave the paw. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he did actually give her his paw. And what you got to love about animals too is they don't really care who you are. They don't care about your status. They don't care about anything. They just want hugs and loves and treats. And so I just find that really, really sweet. I thought this was really sweet right here. So you got to wonder, and I just want to put that out there. So, you have all the staff there. And I got to think. Now, I imagine she met with her own private team personally to thank them again. But you got to wonder too if some of them are maybe in that crowd there. Just curious. So the amount of cameras there is quite intense. I think it's quite crazy. So again, just curious if any member of her team is there. I'm sure they probably are.
How's it going? Have you just met? Okay. And also you can feel the draft. Everyone said after this treatment, be careful. Yeah. You're okay. Stay strong, okay? It's lovely to meet some of the patients here.
So I really liked that interaction. I thought that was really, really amazing and wonderful. I was confused whether or not this is a woman whose daughter is sick. It seems like she's the one who's sick. So I'm just not quite sure. I think the article I read, in particular that referenced her, wasn't super clear. So, anyways, love though that she's able to comfort people again from this very personal perspective. And this is not forced. I feel like this is very natural. So, not super exciting. She's getting ready to leave here. And so there's a couple things here to note. Two that I found sort of interesting is that number one, she's still actually wearing sort of the lower heels, so the 85 millimeter instead of the 105 or 100 millimeter. So I'm fascinated to see if maybe because of this treatment and maybe because she's like, you know what, screw it, she's not going to go for the super high heels anymore. Very curious, just because I always find those things that women choose kind of interesting, where they're feeling how their fashion style changes and everything. The other thing I want to mention, which you can't totally see here, I'll try to find a picture of it real quick, is that Catherine was actually again wearing her eternity band set and not just her engagement ring and the eternity bands. So guys, I would love if I could do this a lot, is actually going and following a royal engagement in this way. That would be the dream all the time, but that's not what RNN gets to do quite yet. So lovely that I believe this is a subsidiary of ITV that gets to do this. Oops, sorry. We shall keep watching it. I think she waved again. Okay, so not super exciting, but you can get actually a good shot here. No big blue. So she is wearing, it looks like 4 eternity bands. So the 2 we know of, and then her new diamond one and diamond and sapphire one. And so I think there too, that decision reflects her desire to actually go to the hospital the way she would before. So I think during her treatments, and I'm sure this is definitely something that we see, is that she decided to, and I'm sure with William's help, because she can wear, her engagement ring is quite large, is that they decided to go ahead and go with a eternity band set. And so I feel like by going there with that set, she's just reflecting the fact that that is how she entered that building every time she went for her treatments, was wearing those rings. And so I think it was sort of a symbol to wear them again. For this particular, I mean, we have seen her on more quiet engagements, I think, wearing her big engagement ring, but I think we'll see the eternity band set a little more. Wendy, thank you so much for the tip for this video. Catherine seems to sincerely listen to people. She does, and that's what royals are supposed to do, is they're supposed to listen. They're supposed to be there and listen and hear, and what they can do with that is bring the plight of the people to the attention of the media and the attention of government officials, saying, well, I see this and people are talking about it, so let's see potentially if there's changes that could be made. Now, they can't enact policy, but can they maybe behind the scenes influence things? Yes. And so I think that is a great way that royals work. And not to bring them up really, but it is a stark comparison when you think about it. Harry and Meghan talk at people a lot. They don't talk to people, they talk at people. And so that's a very different way they go about it. And so we have Monica. Thank you so much for the tip as well. True empathy. Princess Catherine is beautiful inside and out. I'm sure she will get healing from this in some way. Yes, I think it was a very cathartic visit. I think it was a great visit for the first of the year. I think that was especially smart. I think it brings back everything because it was about this time it was announced that she was going to have a major surgery, and so to bring this back and start sort of where she started in a way is kind of, I think, a good full circle moment. So instead of, again, going into the back door because of secrecy, because she needs treatments, she's now finished with her treatment and she can go through the front door as a patron and really talk with the people, hear the men and women and their stories, and move forward from there. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to look at it. So I believe that's pretty much all we have from the rest of this video because it's pretty much at the end here. She goes off in the SUV. So it looks like some press had arrived there as well because not all the press got to go in. It looks like I think Christopher Jackson was the only one who was able to go in. So that's not a surprise though. Like events like that, they're very small. So you can't bring a ton of people in because there's, you have to think of the patients and the treatments they're getting and everything. And you have all this medical equipment. You can't like get there's not as many wires as there used to be, but you can't get the cameras and all this stuff and the gear caught in the equipment. So it's very different to how they have to do it. So I did just want to share though, I think I think I downloaded the picture, maybe didn't share it here real quick yet. Oh no, I did it on X. So you can see right here is her Eternity Band set. And I think in other pictures, you can tell like there's a bigger diamond Eternity Band than the one she originally had. And then the one William gave her after Prince George was born and her original wedding ring, which is in Welsh gold. So I feel like, I don't know why, not trying to bring this up, but again, it's like such a shame that Meghan Markle, who doesn't really care about the royals, doesn't appreciate them at all, got some of the little bit of Welsh gold left for a wedding band is just kind of a shame in a way because maybe somebody else won't get it. So that's kind of sad. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on. Very obviously emotional visit. Look forward to seeing Catherine and William visiting there more. I don't know if they have some sort of gala event during the year, but I think we'll see a lot of engagement from Catherine with the Royal Marsden. That will be my guess, and some movement with the early years project too. So moving on to something I think didn't mean for that to automatically start. Very, very cool, guys, because Princess Leonor is I think a lot of people are coming to the thought of she's one of their favorite young royals. And so she was going to embark on a 5-month training mission here on this Juan Sebastian El Canto. And if you are curious, Juan Sebastian was actually a real gentleman. He was from I can't remember what time period, but he was a mariner, an explorer, and he was a mariner, explorer, and navigator. So he was the inspiration for the name of this ship. And it's one of the 3 tallest ships in the world. And it has obviously actual sails and masts. So you're getting down to like real bare bones basic sailing here. If you guys remember, Leonor is only 19 years old. And she's doing this because she will be the future head of the Spanish armed forces. I always sort of wonder if Leonor, this is what she really wants to do, but she is, I think, embodying what royals do, which is service. So here is a ship right here. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. So there are all the cadets there getting ready for the rigging and everything. And so there is a Leonor right there. So it looks like it was maybe a bit of a rainy day, but let's see. So here she is, and she actually gets to climb up the rigging here. And you got to wonder if you are, because I feel like most navies don't have this sort of ship. And so I'm just curious if they're like freaking out that she's going to, like, I would freak out about falling off. So I can imagine there'd be a little bit of a fear that hopefully she would be okay. Because can you imagine losing the future Queen of Spain at sea? That would just be not the best. So She gets to do like the old-fashioned sailing. There she goes, man. I mean, and they even got the camera guy up there. That's impressive. So this is from, you guys know I've mentioned it before, Casa Real, which is the official Spanish YouTube channel, Spanish Royal YouTube channel. So I just think that's crazy that they had them all up there doing stuff. I think she was, getting training and doing some stuff up there. Quite impressive. Whew. So if you're a little afraid of heights, it's quite wild. It's quite wild. So securing herself in. Again, I just find that super crazy, but let's get over to the next day here because this was obviously sort of like the pre, and then there's another bit that they did because what I love, again, Spanish, every royal family should do this. Every royal family should have a YouTube channel that they own, that they're producing stuff for. So there she is, walking and getting ready. So, the cadets get some sort of recognition there. Let's see if we can. I guess we're not seeing Leonor quite yet there, but so I always feel like that's got to be a little bit weird there. So they're interesting. Ooh, does anybody know what they're doing? This is quite cool. I don't know actually what they're doing, but it feels like this is an old mariner thing that they do before a big mission or something like that. So there's the new cadets. I always again wonder, just because I wouldn't do well in the military. I was like, does she really want to be in the military? She does great though. And I always got to wonder as well, since she will be on these ships, I'm just very curious if she may meet her future husband on maybe this little not funding expedition, but expedition with, because it looks like there are many more gentlemen than ladies on the vessel. And I don't know, King Felipe himself did this 38 years ago. And he actually did stop in the States, met with Ronald Reagan. I'll show you guys that picture real quick because I thought it was interesting how much Leonor and her dad look alike. I never really saw it before until that picture. But it's very different because I wonder if during his time there were no women in the military. So it was entirely a guy ship, given that it's mixed sex. So you could actually have an interesting bit of a romance come out there. So King Felipe obviously did send them off, and we'll share a little bit of the video, and I will share a bit of a translation I got.
La reina y yo queremos desearos buena mar, buenos vientos, pero sobre todo que aprovechéis esta etapa fundamental en vuestra formación como marinos, como militares y también en vuestra proyección por.
So you might notice he got a little bit emotional here because they're obviously sending their firstborn daughter off. So
aprovechéis esta etapa fundamental en vuestra formación como marinos, como militares y también en vuestra proyección por el mundo como español.
So you can definitely feel he just got a little bit choked up for a second. And we do have as well, Anne A became a YouTube member. Well, thank you so much, Anne. Hope you're enjoying this little tidbit here from the Crown Report. Just loving it. Oh, and I forgot to change I actually have a thing that says a Crown Report on behind me, and I forgot to use it again. So progress, not perfection, right?
Representáis a una armada con un legado de siglos que debéis honrar y recordar. Y también representáis una armada del siglo XXI, la Armada Española, que volverá a recorrer con el decano mares por siglos.
So you can see as well, I feel like Queen Letizia looks quite emotional. And they're sort of almost empty nesters in the way. Their one daughter is obviously doing military training. The other one is at school in Wales. So they are empty nesters at this point in a way.
Conocidos por nosotros. Recordad siempre que lleváis el prestigio y la imagen de España sobre vuestros hombros.
So he said in part, and this was from a translation done by Hola magazine, and he said, on the verge of setting sail for your training cruise, the Queen and I wish you good seas, fair winds, but above all, that you take advantage of this stage of your training as sailors, as soldiers, and also your projection in the world as Spaniards. You represent a navy with a centuries old legacy that you must honor and respect. And you also represent a navy of the 21st century, the Spanish Navy, which will once again sail the seas and oceans with Elcano. Always remember that you carry the prestige and image of Spain on your shoulders, and also remember that you are midshipmen of the Spanish Navy. The Queen and I hope that you enjoy it and that you fly the flag high on the seas and in the ports where you arrive. So, very nice speech there.
Y también recordad que sois guardiamarinas de la Armada Española. Deseo, seamos la reina y yo, que lo disfrutéis.
So, I hope don't think we got much more there, but there was actually a very sweet moment. So I'm hoping in this other video, there was a really cute moment of the king and queen. Here they are on the ship. So we're going to switch to a different video now because I'll show you guys a very sweet video at the end because the king definitely got choked up saying goodbye to his firstborn. So they're about to board the ship here. And then there is King Felipe and Queen Letizia. You can hear the 21-gun salute going off in the back. So, again, focusing on Leonor there. And you also have a big crowd of family members of those who are departing, in addition to, obviously, the king and queen being there will attract a crowd. They got some people there on the... Wow, look at all the press. Did you guys see all the press there? Hold on. Look at all the press, guys. That's a lot of press. I don't know if the king and queen, somebody maybe knows in the comments. Let me know. Do they do this every year in terms of the king and queen going to this particular event, or is it only because of Leonor that they are going? So, oops, sorry. Didn't mean to hit the mic there. So, again, we have a little bit of the speech, but what I want to get to here is hoping to get to the end. So they're waving. Some proud yet also a little sad parents as well. So it might not be from this angle, but there's a really cute moment where he actually takes out his phone to take a picture of her. Letizia kind of jumps over his shoulder a bit to try to see if he's getting a good shot or not, which I thought was very sweet. So they've officially pushed away. This is part of her 3 years of training. I like that shot. That's a cool shot. I wonder, since the camera crew is still on the ship, I wonder, because the Spaniards, I think, again, are so media savvy, is that they may have a crew accompany her the entire time. And I think that would actually be rather smart. I feel a bit bad for her because she probably doesn't want them around all the time. But I think the Spaniards, again, I think are one of the better families in terms of capturing moments on video and understanding the importance of video. I don't even think the Brits are totally there yet. And so I think the Spanish are on top of it for sure. Uh-huh. All right, so we're at wow! Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool, like a whole armada of, like, ships accompany them. That's so cool. That's crazy, guys. Wow. Oh, there's the king and queen. Him and his phone. That's so cute. Oh, that's a proud papa right there. That's one proud papa. That is a very, very cool departure that they get. That is a cute moment. That is a really cute moment. That deserves to be seen again. He's like, "Watch your mom." Mom wants binoculars. Oh, that's very sweet. I just gotta love you just gotta love that. You just gotta look at that. So, very, very good. And there's a sweet little moment here that somebody captured as well, where he seemed to get a bit emotional after giving the address or before the address. So, seems like he struggled with his tears a bit. So, very excited, I'm sure that she's going on this journey, but obviously as well, it's sad to see your daughter, especially a daughter, I think. I think he's a proud girl dad. So, sure he was very like it was emotional to see her go. He's probably thinking of his own time there as a military guy as well. So, like thought Queen Letitia's headband was really cute. And so I just want to though share you guys a real quick picture. So we saw Leonor a couple of times. I'll try to find a picture if you didn't see her. But this is now King Felipe meeting with Ronald Reagan. This was, I believe, during his own time with the Juan Sebastian. And I was struck by how much him and Leonor look alike. I had not seen the resemblance until this, probably because by the time I kind of saw him, he was older and everything, and now with the beard, you, like, really can't see it, but there's definitely a resemblance between father and daughter. There's definitely a resemblance there. So I just thought this was a really cool picture, sort of a blast from the past, because sometimes some of those older royal pictures are really, really hard to find, so I just thought this was really super cool. So, anyways, guys, such exciting. I think Leonor is becoming truly one of the most popular young royals of the era, you could say so far. And I think definitely her being just part of this this great family, and then also just being so willing to serve when that might not be what she wants to do. But this is sort of obviously there's a whole video, but this is sort of the picture I was talking about. So he's trying to take a picture and he's so tall. She's like looking over his shoulder, trying to get the perspective and what shot he's getting and everything. So I just thought that was very, very sweet. Because Letizia, often people say she seems cold. I think she actually seems, quite warm there. So yeah. So guys, let's move on to a bit of just the saga continues, and the saga is just not good, and it just gets worse and worse. And I feel like, again, it gets worse and worse for the royal family overall because I don't think they're dealing with it very well. So, this is the whole Maria situation. Yes, it continues. It continues. And so, this is an incident that happened aboard the royal yacht. And so, because it's the royal yacht, obviously, and they were on there, taxpayer dollars were extended. So this is a situation all the time where I talk about how even though, yes, Marius is not a working member of the Norwegian royal family, he is a son of the crown princess. He is not a blood royal. However, he has been in situations, you could say, where I don't want to say that government taxpayer dollars have essentially been expended on him to sort of deal with his situations. And the situation is not bad. Deal with his, you could say, assaults and not treating women very well. So this happened aboard the royal yacht. And so this is according to VG, which I don't know quite what it stands for. I do apologize. But it says information explained about the cabin incident on the royal ship. So this was in the summer of 2020, his then girlfriend, so this is Marius Borg-Holmby. Again, if you're not familiar with this case we've been following, he was arrested in August for assault and property damage and a couple other charges. He was arrested again in September for violating a restraining order. And as time has gone on, all these sort of bits and pieces have come out about his criminal connections, you could say, and incidents that have happened in the royal residences. And it just has become more and more apparent how much the royal family knew about his behavior and just were not addressing it. So, do feel bad for his parents. But at the same time, it seems like nothing was addressed and the situations just got worse and worse until they blew up basically in everybody's face. So, this is what we have. Julianne Snenscott and Marius were on a vacation with the royal family in northern Norway. Now, an episode from the trip is part of a police investigation. So, the royal ship was in Lofoten, and Julian is said to have had problems with a sore hand. Now, this is from Google Translate, so we will miss maybe some of the nuances or some of more language in this reporting, but at least from what I get, I imagine some of the sore hand was maybe related to something to Marius. In police questioning, she reportedly explained that her hand was so painful that she needed medical attention. Sinskad also reportedly called a close relative and told them about the hand, a conversation in which Marius was also involved. After this, a situation arose in the couple's cabin where Holmby acted out, according to Julian. Holmby denies the criminal liability for the circumstances of the charges. His defense attorney does not wish to comment on the case. Eventually, to get the situation under control, Crown Princess Mette Marit had to actually go down and try to sort of mediate whatever was going on. So during police questioning, Julian is said to have explained, among other things, that Holmby was acting out and angry during this episode. And I know they maybe didn't pick this picture and this was just part of the article already, but she looks really guilty in the picture that they chose right there. Kind of shocked and guilty. It's kind of funny. It says, during the fall and winter of last year, this episode has been the topic of questioning with several witnesses. I can confirm that there was an unfortunate situation on the royal ship and that my client found what happened there difficult. Beyond that, I do not wish to comment on the case. So this is according to her attorney. So he is charged with abuse in intimate relationships against Julian, with whom he was together for around 4 years. He denies any criminal charges. The police believe that Holmby had used physical and psychological violence against and controlled her over a long period of time. They also believe that he has violated and threatened her. This is a case that is being processed by the legal team, and we do not think it is right to comment. We have confidence that the police and legal system will handle this in a good way. So this is basically a quote from the palace's communications manager. The investigation is in its final phase, and the defense attorneys have been sent the documents. In this case, we have no further comments. So, is there any more? That's from his original, but I think they're not so clear. But it sounds like to me that he damaged her hand in some sort of assault. That's definitely what it sounds like to me. And they're like kind of, I don't know if it's because of translation or how maybe Norwegians write or something. It's kind of like when Thomas Kingston, the husband of Lady Gabriella Windsor, like the way they would phrase his death, I'm like, I think that's something where he maybe took his own life, but they're phrasing it so weird. I'm like, what? So they don't actually come out right out and say the word, which I can't either because of YouTube search algorithms, even though this is just simply reporting the news. But it seems like he had damaged her hand in some sort of incidents, and it got so overheated at one point that Mette Marit had to come down and try to mediate it for him and try to get him calmed down, get her calmed down, and get everybody sort of on the same page. So I think the issue with this is, and this is an issue that has been sort of growing within this case overall, because this case sort of spans many years in theory, because the incident, yes, happened last year that he got arrested for, but this has been going on for many years, is that it seems like Mette Marit has been cleaning up the messes quite a bit for a number of years and not really dealing with the issues. So like, it's so hard to say. So I do apologize. I don't know all the details or whatever, but her son was acting out and she just didn't seem to do a lot. Obviously, he was an adult, but bringing him on a royal yacht, which is in part funded by the taxpayers, and then he assaults his girlfriend, like that's a problem. That is a problem because you're expending government resources on a guy who is assaulting people. So that becomes very problematic, and it's something that I think the Norwegian royal family, and particularly Mette-Marit, really has to address. She can't just say, "Oh, he deserves privacy." He does, but at the same time, government resources were utilized on him and his particular behaviors. In some form or another, they were. So you have to figure out how to address it because you just can't say, "Oh, he's having issues or whatever." That's not an excuse anymore. That's not going to work. That is not going to work. So they need to figure out something else. She needs to sort of, I think, answer for it in one way or another. And she needs to have a better response than he deserves privacy because I would argue that people should have their money utilized wisely. And if the Norwegian monarchy is continue to represent the people have a right to know how maybe their money was expended to kind of cover up for Marius. I think they have the right to know that. So that's something that is continuing to go on. So obviously we're getting more like the pieces of the puzzle are coming together bit and bit a bit as this investigation unfolds. I feel like about every week or so we get a new tidbit. This was obviously a new big thing today. And it's just one of those things where it's just like so concerning. I feel very personally very concerned for the future of the Norwegian monarchy. Because Mette-Marit, unfortunately, it would be one thing if, let's say, Marius had grown up more with his dad and he visited his family occasionally, but she appears very involved, and that's where the problem comes in, because she's going to be the future queen of Norway, and her discernment, I think, in some things is questionable. Her judgment on some things is very questionable, and that already existed before because she had sort of a party background, bit of a drug background as well, and so she was already considered by some unsuitable. So she sort of got through that and proved herself well, but as it turns out, she may have been sort of allowing the situation to fester longer than it should have. I mean, I have no solutions for this, to be quite honest. I'm not a parent. I'm not a parent to an adult child going through some things, but this does reflect badly on her and Hakan and their ability to make good decisions. And if you're looking at them to be the heads of state, you're thinking to yourself, I'm not sure these people can make good decisions. And unfortunately, the health of Harold and Sonia, who are both remain very popular, are neither one of them are very good. Actually, Sonia is going to get a pacemaker put in later this week. She had some heart-related issues while on, I believe, a skiing trip. Last year, King Harold had heart issues while they were in Malaysia, and he had to be medevaced home to get his own pacemaker put in. So now the royal couple has matching pacemakers, and he's getting close to 90 now, Harold. And so, like, I feel like this leaves the Norwegian monarchy, which I was not thinking was going to be one of the more precarious ones, is definitely looking a bit more shaky than I figured it would. And I find this really interesting because I want the monarchies to survive, but you have to make good decisions. And I'm going to do a video on this later on Harry and Meghan, probably in a series of different video ideas because there's so much to discuss and analyze there. But one of the things I find is it's not only what you do and what you think about what you do, but how people are perceiving it. So yes, Mette-Marit might have think she's doing the best for her son, and she probably is in a way, but it's not being perceived great, and her decisions could be questionable. So you can't control how people perceive what happens. So you have to figure out how to address it, and it's not the people's problem for interpreting it a particular way, because you kind of give it to them. I think that's very much the case with Harry and Meghan. They're mad people perceive them as disaster tourists. Well, that's how you kind of presented. So that's not our problem for perceiving it that way. That's your problem for how you're communicating. So again, this comes down to communication issue. I don't know how that is ameliorated in any sense. I just don't know. But I think it's a very sad situation. I'm hoping that he gets the help he needs and that he can become a very much better member of the extended family. But overall, it's definitely, as Catherine said here, what a mess. son should have been raised by his real father and kept away from everything royal. I mean, his father probably contributed this to as well. His father was actually in prison for drug use. So this does run in the family, but I think it being seen as a mess is true. And the question becomes, what about the other kids? Ingrid Alexandra and Sir Magnus. How about them? That again, a bigger question. So this is the trap royals fall into, is that they have to be so careful, because if you want the monarchy to survive, you must make good decisions. And I just don't know if Norway is there. And we saw, I believe it was last week, I shared how the popularity of Norwegian monarchy is sort of flatlining at a much lower. I mean, it's still in the 60s, which is very good compared to like Congress in the United States, which is at 10%. But it dropped down to 60, and it's, I believe, at 64 right now, positive view. And it was down from a high of 80 something. So they've definitely taken a hit. So guys, we will go ahead and end that with our major. I'm going to try, though I need to do another video too. I'm going to try to get the royal wire out. Maybe I'll just set a goal for tomorrow. I'll try to get the wire out tomorrow, which is my newsletter, because I have other things I want to share, but they'll be more of like short tidbits. I might actually be able to get it done today. But other royal news that we didn't get to here, because it's always good. These are a great outlet to discuss sort of the bigger news stories, some of the implications. And there is a book I actually want to reread called The Great Survivors. And I actually read it well over a decade ago. That one's about sort of the remaining active royal families. And so I feel like that book is even more applicable now than it was whenever I read it, because I don't remember too much. But I'm like, I feel like we need a second version of that, because we have so many new things. The Harry and Meghan debacle. Now we have the Marius debacle. So very interesting. So I did see where we have rediscover locations with Sharona. Very serious question, Brittany. Do you think if the situation doesn't get better for Norway, do you think the King Harald could leave the throne to his granddaughter and not his son? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I think Hakan and Mehmet are going to have a harder time trying to get the people behind them in some ways, especially if one of the other kids goes off. Because we did actually get news that Sir Magnus has left where he was, where his girlfriend was working. And we don't know, I don't think, where he's living now. So that's kind of a curious thing. And yeah, the kids, I feel like, are the biggest question. Ingrid Alexandra seems fine as far as we're aware, but I think that's the big question for them going forward, to be quite honest. So we'll go back and look at some of the questions and comments. Carol said, good news. We get to see Catherine. She is in remission, and she is co-patron with William at Royal Marsden. Yes. So Lizzie B said, Princess Catherine looks beautiful. I'm glad she is feeling better. Hopefully she will have a speedy recovery. We have Becky as well saying, hi, everyone. Such great news about Princess Catherine doing her first solo engagement. So exciting. Yes. And we got Cheryl T in Oklahoma. Thank you, Cheryl. Marius was probably never told no and never held responsible for his actions. His mother cleaning up is a big part of the problem. And yeah, we don't know any of the details, but that sounds really very much like the case. Like, she was told he was going to get arrested. And I think there was about a 30-minute window or so. And she literally went to his home to pick it up, in terms of pick up his home. So she has been picking up after his messes for a really long time. And if you do that again, it's just enabling the behavior, and it's going to blow up in your face at some point. And that's definitely what's happened there. I think it's very sad, but it's, what can you do? Margie says, hi all, just great to see Catherine, Princess of Wales, showing us how real royals act. And it's about others, service, and gratitude to those who help through such difficult times. Yes, Louise says, hi, happy Tuesday, Brittany, and happy Crown Report Day 2. Love these, as it gives you a much better time to discuss actual royals and not the non-American ones. Yes, I love that we're able to do these, because filming and editing a video just takes a lot of time. If I just do it live, maybe I flub things from time to time, but I can actually get through a lot of material and not have to worry quite so much about missing out on some things. SEJ says she didn't use one. How does she not lose any of her hair at all? Depends on the chemotherapy. So that chemotherapy must not cause you to lose your hair very much. Why do that says, I'm glad to hear this. My friend lost her battle to cancer before Christmas. She was only 41. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so young. That's so young. Very sad. I'm very sorry. Carol says, it sounds like practical knowledge while sailing. Yes, like very practical. I think, didn't King Felipe, I think he was even in sailing for a while. Did he compete in sailing during the Olympics? I think. Azima says, maybe George in a few years he could interact with other European royals. That'd be lovely, but probably not. The Brits just want to be on their own little islands. So that's how they do it. I think it's kind of a bummer, but whatever. Bar Jumbo 1969 said, an unannounced visit, that's what you admire most. No notifying the media of her presence. She just wants to make it about the people, not herself. Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, and when it comes to Catherine, it wasn't announced to, let's say, it wasn't announced until like after she was there, and it was people who are part of the Royal Rota who got to go in and cover it, and that was a very important part of it. Luis says Marius has been called Pap Prince since Pap Pa, a more modern word for stepfather. Very interesting. Katie Girl Forever says, I'm looking forward to Princess Catherine's warrants. I was just about to figure out which brands to support. Tatcha, Bobbi Brown, and It Cosmetics have been compromised. Well, I will have to say I've always loved Tatcha, so that is a bit sad. But it would be British brands, so I could definitely see perhaps LK Bennett being on the docket. She has worn LK Bennett for a very, very long time. We also have maybe Holland Cooper, and or like the two that come to mind for me. She is like Therese before. Emmy London. She has like almost every Emmy in London shoe. So lots of options there. Maybe the brand Robert Pelleman or something, who designed like her wedding earrings. He might be a possibility, or Kiki McGonigal, or they might already have actually a royal warrant. So we have Asma, Met Marta needs to keep an eye on Marius at all times. Yeah. Carol says Metamarat enabled Marius or didn't know how to effectively parent. Yeah, that seems to be kind of sort of the case. Shaz says, I'm not sure what type of mom got, but when she went through abdominal surgery, then chemo for 6 months. Yes. Very, very hard. So Carol said, this is why people love Catherine. She is thankful to everyone supporting her. Sab says, love the visit. My dad had his cancer treatment at Marsden, and they were really supportive. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Margaret says, good evening, Brittany and everyone. It is wonderful news that Catherine, Princess of Wales, is now in remission. Prayers answered. Absolutely. Absolutely. Lo Kuna says, I'm so happy Princess Catherine has announced she is in remission. She'll no doubt still need time to recover from all she's been through. I hope people won't expect too much from her now, though. Yeah, it'll be kind of hard to see because, again, I would always argue that William and Catherine have to walk a very careful balance of making sure she is able to recover, but at the same time, not looking like that she could do more and she's not. That's just such a careful line. We don't know what line that is. I love that she has already done an engagement. I personally thought waiting till the BAFTAs would be too long. I figured just do at least one thing in January. This was the perfect thing to do. Perfect thing to do. Oh, and I forgot, January 14th, 1 year since King Frederick became king. So that was a big, exciting announcement as well. Sav says she really understands what these patients are going through. She was so connected to what they were saying. Nice to hear about her experience too, as it will educate many others in the process. Yes, I am sort of interested to see when she might share what her cancer was. There's just part of me that will always be curious, but not like grasping for it, if that makes sense. Asma says, I still feel bad about my scars. I know it's silly. Yeah, I used to have nice feet, but one of my feet turned ugly because of the scars. Really don't notice my wrist scars that much. It's just my wrist bothers me. But my foot scars are kind of gnarly. Nancy says, way to go for Princess of Wales. Now this is how you show up and do good. Exactly. We have Diane says, so happy to get the news. Catherine is now in remission. And this is a great photo from Chris Jackson. He does a fantastic job. Sab says, my dad was there a few years ago, so I wouldn't know about Catherine's specific treatment, but different type of people go there. Unfortunately, we lost him to COVID during his post-op chemo round. I'm so sorry to hear that, Sabs. So sorry to hear that. Marjorie says, maybe Meghan will release Hap Walker paparazzi's publicity stunt to get the fire damage areas to try and gain publicity. She usually does when Catherine gets attention. Yeah, Catherine's got a lot of attention. It's all positive. And Meghan, I mean, the attention has gotten so negative. Like everybody is roasting them. It's not good for them. I can understand, this is from MTE, why Princess Catherine would be hesitant to have the port removed. When my husband was battling cancer, the port was installed because the vein in his arms collapsed. Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I think that is true, because then you would have to get, you could say, stabbed more often rather than having something that's just there and, you just go in. Rhea says, Catherine did this without fanfare and no one knew she was going, hence why no big crowds or photographers outside. I believe there was maybe a couple, and definitely people came in as they heard. So Kay West said, unlike Catherine, Harry and Meghan have no kingdom to reign, no country they represent, no official duties to fulfill, no sway on politics or policy, no money in the bank. Proof they are 100% in it for themselves. It is hard to argue. Kat from New York said, NYC said, look at that. No bodyguards in sight. They were definitely there, but being discreet. And honestly, she's pretty safe. And I would argue Harry and Meghan are pretty safe too, to be quite honest. Marjorie says, no, she's not searching for the cameras all the time. She is a real person who cares. It's all about the patients and the staff. What Catherine has always done, which is rather interesting, is actually actively try to avoid looking at the cameras. She has done that since she was a royal. It actually used to drive the photographers nuts because they couldn't get a decent shot because she really wouldn't look at them. So there is a way to obviously give the photographers the pictures they want by looking at them. I think Catherine's better at that now, but her natural instinct was literally to avoid looking at the cameras. That might have been from her paparazzi days where the paparazzis would stalk her. And so she kind of got to oh, can't show. But then they're like, oh, you kind of have to now. Angela says, Catherine genuinely cares when engaging with someone. She doesn't get off the impression that she would rather be anywhere else. She also looks them in the eye. Very, very true. Tattletale says, that's a real princess. There's no Princess Markle. Princess Catherine is so poised and warm. She isn't shoving herself in front of the cameras. It is just lovely. Ruth says, I'm still in the fight with my cancer. I have been blessed with wonderful teams of doctors who treat me so well. We said all the best to Her Royal Highness Catherine, Princess of Wales. Well, I thank you so much for sharing, Ruth. I hope your cancer journey goes really well, and just praying for great success there. I know that's a tough road. And for some people, it's one that they have to battle for the rest of their lives. So Asima says, my heart went out to George, Charlotte, and little Louis. Yes. Lisa said she actively listened to people and cares what they say. 100%. Linda says, I admire the Princess of Wales for being so down to earth and relatable to these parents. Maria says, I'm glad we can't really hear these conversations. They are personal between them. Yeah, I agree. We got some tidbits here and there. It was kind of interesting, really, to confirm that Catherine did have a port. That was a question I had. And so that was just, something I'm like, oh, okay. That gives us a greater idea. She didn't use a cold cap. So Aisha says, Catherine takes time to really listen to people, not like the invasive entity, aka the grifter touches. Brings her own cameraman to take pictures so she can be seen as a compassionate person. So Dia says, I read about that when Meghan Markle's cooking show airs, it will be with a backdrop of recovery and rebuilding efforts. So that's why she went to assist. She needed context and footage for it. She is sick. Yeah. I mean, I imagine she'll insert something with California in there, because now the show is the love letter to California, which it was not before. Just saying. Sab says, I hope she works in these intimate causes when she can. She brings so much to them, and we learn too. Yes, we do. Stuart says, I don't think she will be going to the BAFTAs, which is primarily a glitz and glam evening. Princess Catherine may be in remission, but will be taking her return to duties as a serious priority. Yes, but I mean, people love to see her in gala looks, so I wouldn't be super surprised. Kate Johnson said, decades from now, Her Royal Highness Princess Catherine will be remembered as a humble woman, kind duchess, poised princess, and one of a kind queen that will absolutely shine no matter the circumstance. A true gem. Yes. So Paul says, Catherine, Princess of Wales, will be cancer-free. That no detectable cancer present. So remission means that the tumor has shrunk to a small level, because I did look it up, or there's no symptoms of cancer. Doesn't mean she's cancer-free. just means she's in remission. So the language there is very particular. I changed my name for YouTube, says I made it live. A little bit behind, but that's okay. Exciting news. Yes. Paul says 100 plus at camera phones. Yes. Margaret says wearing lower heels would only make sense walking through a hospital. Floors are slick, tile, and easily could twist an ankle. She would have looked like a fool for wearing high heels. I would say that, except she has previously worn them before. So just pointing that out. Through the Looking Glass by Alice says, thank you, Brittany, for bringing the focus back to the good princess who always gets it right. Of course. Ruth says, give Catherine her space and time. She's got attention to get her. Markle uses my Uvalde, Texas shooting for her attention. Now Catherine for California for fires. She loves hot subjects. That could be an interesting way to put it. Okay, so Carol says Catherine actively listens actively, which is not a skill all have. Where Megan is not listening, she's hearing. Big difference. Yes. Grandmark says, why would you want to see her scar? Ghoulish. Not that I want to see her scar, but I think there is power in encouraging other women to not be ashamed of their scars. That's the message Eugenie tried to send with her having her wedding dress show off her scoliosis scars. And so if Catherine ever felt comfortable doing that, to show off, not show off, but be comfortable wearing a dress that perhaps shows some of her port scar in particular, I think that would be something where I'd be like, good for you, Catherine, because I think that would be very encouraging to other women. So Carol says Princess Leonor practical sailing skills. Yes. Oh, yes. Azima says, are there any other royals coming into the UK? Not that I have heard of. I haven't heard. Azima says, how old is Ingrid Alexander? I believe somebody said she would be 21 this year. Yeah, because she was 18 in 2022. I'm kind of bummed, though. I missed all the good, royal birthday events. And so it's like, I don't get to, all those ended up being big tiara events. I'm really sad. I didn't think, I missed out on Christians. I'm so bummed with myself. Menki and Mumu says, so sweet to see the clips I've seen with them waving goodbye. Proud parents. She's their baby, regardless of how old they get. Yes. Oh, yes. So Aisha says, this is my issue with the Spanish Royal House. Yes, they did a great job with their social networks, yet there's a censorship in the country and the press can say bad things about the royal family. That's sort of a situation with several royal families, but definitely, there's been some articles shared, but it's more of just that nasty guy. I can't remember what his name is, which I personally think he's completely making stuff up. So, yes. Stephanie Blake said, thank you for sharing. I have been watching, but recently joined because I love the information you give. Why, thank you. I'm so glad you joined. It's a fun little, if you got to check out the recent vlog I did, those are so fun to do. I have my stuff from Copenhagen. I think as the trip went on, I didn't do quite as much just because there wasn't, in some cases, quite as much to share, if that makes sense. Because sometimes it got kind of boring because I was sitting in a hotel room trying to edit videos. That's not that fun. Carrie G says, Princess Ingrid is also in the military. She's in the far north of Norway. Very dark and cold, not much glamour. No, her mom was up there recently too. So that was interesting for Ingrid. But yeah, she's doing well too. I don't think Amalia will do any military stuff. Christian is about to go into some military training. So I think that's all great. So yeah. We have a Catherine McCauley says, became a YouTube member. Why, thank you so much, Catherine. Catherine with a C, just like Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Very awesome. So thank you so much for joining. Got to check out, got 2 vlogs done. Got to do at least a couple more because I have videos I tried to get. Although I will say, I think I'll have to wait for maybe a whole situation because I got so much coverage in Rosenborg Castle because I just took the little gimbal around and just filmed everything, though I did sprain my ankle because I wasn't looking where I was going. Kay Johnson said, wonderful to see Spain moving forward. Yes. RD says, Felipe has turned into a silver fox recently. He's been a silver fox for a while. Shaz says, she's a mommy watching her daughter sail away. Yes, I just thought that was so cute. He's like pointing to mom with the binoculars because mom wanted to see her. Shaz says, oh, wow, so young there, Brittany. Yes, he was quite young. Ashley Joe says, thanks for sharing. That was cute to see, Britt. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. It was very cute to see. So Coastal Angel says, did the Harkles know about Catherine's visit? So they jumped on the tragedy tour? No, they just like to exploit pretty much anything for publicity. So Carol says, now the deep dive is beginning on the history of Marius. Yes. Because once you put something out there, like you can't rein it back in. And everybody's wondering, okay, what did everybody know when? What did they allow? What not great. Aisha says Hakan met Marius' popularity takes a huge hit thanks to Marius. Yeah. Yeah. So Carol says, is it me or did Martin enable and cover up Marius's bad behavior? I think we're getting, it appears a pattern is emerging, Marius behaving badly and Metamar going in cleaning it up. So don't have full confirmation of that, but that does seem to be the case. Margie says it just goes from bad to worse for the Norwegian RF. Marit's ex-partner is a convicted felon, and you wonder who she used to associate with. It all comes into play. It does. It really does. Asma says, so tone deaf met Marit. Yeah. Carol says the situation has compounded and not dealing with the issues that they don't do a course correct. Norway could go to being a republic. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a huge possibility, but it's definitely like once you start to, the problem is once you start to really erode something, every other, like you have to work really hard to turn the ship. And if you don't go to every engagement as if this is the last engagement we might ever have, you might lose something. Like I feel like Letizia and Felipe work as if the Spanish monarchy is hanging on by a thread. So they're working so hard to keep it. And I think that's the perspective to go in. Rediscover locations with Sharona says, hi, Brittany, became a member today. Oh, I think I already said it earlier, but I would say, loving your vlog and so happy to hear about Catherine. Why, thank you. Artie says, just when Metamar finally rehabilitated her image following the backlash in the 2000s, now her son undoes everything. She should have known better. Yep. Yeah. Asma says, Marius committed crimes. There needs to be consequences. Otherwise, they're on the road to republic. Yeah, I mean, obviously, need to go through the trial and everything. It would be nice if he just admitted to wrongdoing and just kind of went from there. But not so surprised they're not doing that. Her Majesty the Queen said, not advocating for it, but surprised family government, etc., hasn't paid off the girl to make this go away before it blew up. Since these allegations happened on royal properties, is she suing the government? Sad. She's not, but sort of what happened is I think they thought it was over as she had gotten away from him. So she's like, it's not really worth it. But as time has gone on, I think people are more and more interested in speaking out. And once a dam breaks, so if like, for example, with Harvey Weinstein the right example? I don't know. I'm not even sure. Was it the article that was the catalyst? I think it was the article for sort of the catalyst. But once you open the floodgates a bit, everybody comes out of the woodworks, or everybody feels comfortable sharing what they had done before or had seen before. So I think Marius kind of fell into that trap. Is once people smelled blood in the water, and once they realized things were going to stick, they felt more comfortable coming out. All right, Erica Adams, thank you so much for the tip. I may be visiting the UK for the first time. I adore the BRF. Any suggestions for must see? So there's quite a few. I mean, I always kind of like the biggies. Go to the Tower of London. You can see the coronation jewels there, like the crown and the scepter and everything. You also, and it's obviously a hugely historical location as well. I would recommend going to Kensington Palace. They have announced they have like a new fashion exhibition opening. They have some dresses from Diana and Margaret and Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. So I think that would be really fun to see. I actually want to see that myself. And then obviously Westminster Abbey is a hugely historic place. It can be very, very busy, but it's definitely a huge key component in the history of the United Kingdom, and particularly obviously the former monarchs who have passed away and everything. That's where a lot of them are buried, and some other famous figures as well. And then, I mean, obviously go outside Buckingham Palace. If you go in the summer, you may be able to get tickets. I realized I probably should have been looking for tickets and I kind of forgot because I kind of want to go back again this year because I think they're reopening the East Rooms again. So keep an eye on that. They usually open it sort of in the late summer. I think they're also opening up Balmoral again, but that's obviously up in Scotland. But yeah, just those a couple of things. If you want to get outside London, there's sort of two options. You can go to Windsor Castle, which is a train ride away, or you can go to Hampton Court Palace. Between the two, I like Hampton Court a little bit better. It's a bigger complex, and I think it's pretty cool. But obviously, Windsor Castle, you have St. George's Chapel, where Harry and Meghan, Beatrice and Eugenie got married, and Charles and Camilla, as in Windsor Castle. And you can tour some of the great rooms of Windsor, but you can't take pictures inside. That's the unfortunate thing, but you can in Hampton Court. So it's an older working palace, although Windsor Castle is technically older because it was founded around 1066. But Hampton Court, I think it's got red brick. I think it's cooler, to be quite honest. I had good lunch there, and I got some good honey there. So yeah. Louise Anderson. So I hope that helps, Erica. So Louise Anderson asks, can you tell us the name of the book once again? The one about surviving monarchies? Yeah, it's called The Great Survivors, I believe it's called. So it was let me look it up on my Kindle here. It was a book it's well over 10 years old. And let me see. So I think that would be, it's by Peter Conradi. This is it. The Great Survivors. So you can see Catherine and William, Letizia and Felipe, Albert and Charlene. You have maybe Carl. So this must have been done. We have Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima. We have Albert and, oh gosh, is it Paula? Blanking on her name. And Carl Gustav and Sylvia. So this even shows an interesting perspective here, because this is before the abdication of Princess Beatrice, former Queen Beatrice, and then you also had the abdication of King Albert. So very interesting. Very interesting. Nika says, I can't believe it's been a year since the change of throne in Denmark. How quickly this year has gone by. Yes, it is. So guys, Azuma says, I feel bad for King Harold and Queen Sonia. They don't need this. Also Ingrid Alexandra and Sir Magnus. So actually, I think when it comes to Ingrid Alexandra, I think she was like forced to extend her military training a couple months just because of the Maria situation. That was, I think, a huge component of it. Jackie Swan says, Catherine won't say what cancer she has, as KP says they do not want people to focus on one type of cancer, as all cancer is bad and needs funding. That is a great way to put it. Carol says, Catherine followed Philip's advice. You are a cog in the machine. The press is there due to the position she occupies. Yes, it's a great thing. It was actually interesting. Both the main service and our small group talked about the importance of humility. And I think as a royal, like, the best aspect you can have is humility, because you have to know it's not really about you. It's about the position you hold. You on your own are not special, you could argue. I mean, you are and you aren't. In the grand scheme of the world, what gives you the influence is simply the title you hold and the family you're attached to, not you in your individual achievements. And I think that's where Meghan Markle had it so backwards, is that she thought it was about her and not the royals. And since leaving the royals, things have continually gotten worse. I mean, this is the worst year they've had so far by miles and eons. Lola says, hi, everyone. Brittany, sorry for my English. Marius has some diagnosis. I think he's a mad with a neurologiska. Both his parents and dad use drugs. Usually parents cannot accept that. What do you think? I mean, I don't know. He's acknowledged drug use, mental health issues. I have a hard time with that, because sometimes I totally understand that that's a case. Sometimes, though, I also feel like that can be an excuse. So I have mixed feelings about that, because yes, it's true, but also not. So we have Ms. Lafa Lot says, hi, I love you, Brittany, and your channel. As a cancer advisor myself, I am so pleased today. Meghan, take a leaf out of her book. Love from the UK. Yes. And it actually makes sense for Catherine to be there. I'm sorry, but Meghan and Harry really should have waited a couple of days more, because it seemed like when a disaster is ongoing, you have to be careful to not like rush in too soon. And that's sort of what they looked like. And kind of nobody liked it. Monarchy says thoughts about regarding Justine Bateman, Megyn Kelly, and Candace Owens' comments on Harry and his wife. I've heard Justine and Megyn. Haven't really heard Candace's, but yeah, I think Megyn Kelly definitely has Justine, I think, put a name on them, but I think it'll stick. Much like the effing grifters comment, I think being disaster tourists will be something that sticks to them for a long time. Rediscover locations with Sharona says, suggestion, Brittany, what about covering Princess Isabella's Denmark's 18th birthday? So yes, 100%, but there probably won't be a big event for that, sadly. Usually it's restricted to basically just the first in line for the throne, which is why we got one for Ingrid, one for Christian. We should have gotten one for Catherine and Amalia, but hers happened during the heat of COVID, so we didn't, which is sad. So anyways, I'm just like trying to figure out who would be next. The Brits don't really do it. Estelle turning 18. That's several years away, but hopefully. Marjorie says, I do hope Prince William is taking note of what is going on in Norway. I believe it'll be left up to him to sort out Archie and the Montecito duo, or Andrew and the Montecito duo. Yes, absolutely. I think it'll be left to him, which is not great. Erica says, I'm super excited. I've only been to Mexico, as that is where my family's from. My darling daughter is set on getting me to the UK, as she knows my love for the BRF. Well, I hope you have a fantastic time. I love London. It's a great city to get around. If you become a member, you can see a bit of my vlog where I'm just walking around the subway. And I thought that would be cool for people to see who haven't seen it before. And I will say they have a new thing now where you have to it's only like $15, but you have to like register to visit. It's really dumb. Because it's not like a full visa, but somehow you have to like officially let them know you're coming. It's dumb. So I didn't have to do that last year. Do have to do this year. A lot to do. I mean, I would say for your first trip to London, stick to the touristy things. Don't try to do unless there's like something that's like, smaller ish you really want to do. I would say hit the highlights and, do a bit of shopping too. You can go to Harrods, which is kind of crazy. Oh, and big note for London, because this is a huge problem, is phone thieves. So if you're walking around and your phone is out like this, some guy from a motorcycle gang or whatever can grab it and run away with it. And so I actually so you guys will notice these things on my work phone. I actually had a lanyard. So I had a lanyard on. And unfortunately, I lost my lanyard thing when I was in Denmark. It was actually the only thing I lost. I thought I lost two things. I thought I lost one of the cords to my computer, but I found it. I was super excited. Anyways, so my suggestion to you as well is to get a lanyard for your phone. And so that way you can keep it close to you, because that is actually an issue. So that's just something to be aware of. So Her Majesty the Queen says, Megyn Kelly has strong feelings about Harry and Meghan. Talking about a smackdown of their ego. Remind me never to get on her bad side. No, Megyn Kelly can really can really put it out there. So I thought she did a really good job. So guys, we will go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hoping to get another video done today, but I'm so glad Princess Catherine is back. Keep a lookout for more. And of course, I will be putting the individual episodes of this on the Crown Report YouTube channel. So just go ahead and check that out if you're interested. I need to put links to it somewhere, but I'll let people know. Guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.